All right, the watch list for Thursday. I'm just showing you the SPY daily chart real quick. Kind of an ugly candle today, which probably explains why I got winded trading. I mean, I was worn out by the end of the day. I really had to work to make some money today because it just underlying weakness in the market. But let's just go over the watch list for tomorrow here. Got a big spike, a big pop in VLTC. It hasn't broken. I guess right here maybe it broke this day's high, but basically putting in lower highs every day, lower lows. Put this back on bounce watch. It did make a nice move in the chat room today. We were able to catch it right about here and sell into this spike, so that was nice. And again, that was thanks to Jane with her quick alert. We had it on the watch list, and she threw it out there. We've got so many people watching all these charts that it's pretty rare that something on our watch list starts to make a move without somebody posting it in chat. So I did make some nice money in VLTC today. And HART has had a huge move here, but a couple pretty big red days back down to the 8-day. That one is kind of interesting to me for a potential bounce. DHRM also big move, lower volume inside day. That goes on bounce watch. But these low cap, smaller cap, low float stocks kind of out of favor this week so far. So be careful out there trading these. But I still want to have them on watch just in case. CANF is just in a range here, and now you've got 2 red days, so it goes back on bounce watch. No trades in it today. EFUT, just another red day, back down to the 8-day, so it's starting to become interesting for a bounce. It's a low floater that when it does move, it could really move, so I want to watch that one. TERP, massive volume yesterday, and then today kind of a quiet inside day. I like it a lot over today's high. 939, maybe it moves up to 10 if it can get to 939, and if it gets above 10, anything's possible. So TERP goes on watch. OHRP just still continuing this flag after this decent sized move. Goes back on bounce watch for tomorrow. STRP, I got to share with you this. You talk about this is part of why I was winded today. It's such an aggravating day. I called STRP. Okay, it looked like this. I called it at 1080 with a 1070 stop. Now the reason I called it is because it's a recent high flyer. If I pan out, you can see it's made some really big moves here, 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 and then it's a few days lower, right? So then zoom in on the intraday, puts in its early high. I generally don't trade anything like this in the first 10 or 15 minutes, so I want to see them set up. So this puts in an early high right here of 1085, sells off, and then right back up to a little bit of a lower high, 1084, and then a sideways move. This is being a recent high flyer, this is a great setup. If you get over 1080, probably knock out the high of the day and maybe start to squeeze, right? So I got in some, and this almost looks like an errant tick, like it didn't even happen. It actually did happen. I got in some right at 1080. I think I sold some as it broke through 11, and in a blink of an eye, this is a 5-minute candle, in a blink of an eye, all the bids fell off. They just fell off the face of the earth, and next thing you know, the next bid was at 1070. And I thought, okay, this is not the environment for low float stocks. So I ended up with basically a flat. I probably had a small loss in this. But here's the aggravating thing. Bleeds lower, and then look what happens. Boom. Just goes nuts late in the day. So even though I said I hate the way this thing acted, with this kind of afternoon action, I have to have it back on watch. This was a massive move here. And that's what I was looking for. That's why I was calling this one right here with a stop right here, because I knew it had the ability to do that. That just goes to show. And the fun thing about trading, you can be right and still lose money. It's all about timing. So anyway, this goes back on watch. Let me pan out a little bit here. 15-minute candles. So you see a big move here. It was kind of flagging and then ripped and then gave some of it back. And then here's the daily. So it's a little bit weird looking here, but because we know how much this can rip, we got to have it on watch and see if it gives us some kind of an intraday setup tomorrow. All right, so that's STRP. Some people in chat will probably be like, I can't believe you put that on watch after that, what it did to us. But, anything can happen, and I'm actually way up on the year on this stock. It just did that nonsense there in the middle of the day, but it's got to go back on watch after that move. All right, anyway, BOX. Now this is weird because BOX looks really good over this 4 or 5 day high. A little bit of increased volume today. Now what's weird about it is I believe it had earnings after hours. So normally I wouldn't call this because you'd think it would either be up here or down here. After earnings after hours, it's basically the same spot, 1409. And if I throw, let's see, time templates. And just to show you what I'm talking about, you can see the chaos that happened after hours. It swept down, swept up, and ended up right about where it started. So this does look good on the daily, and earnings didn't seem to affect it that much. So I really like this up over 1420. You might get a nice move, towards 15. So I think that's it. I think I covered them all. We'll be checking for gappers in the morning before the opening bell as well. And I'm going to leave it at that. Hey guys, trade safe out there. Watch your position size. It's pretty thin market. I'm seeing things that should be, pretty tight spreads, especially on a gap play, still having crazy spreads. So it is a thin market right now. Feels like the machines are moving stuff all over the place. So, the important part of being a trader is recognizing that and adjusting versus saying, hey, what am I doing wrong? A lot of times it's not something you're doing wrong. The market's changing. So not only do you have to battle fear and greed, and this is why a lot of day traders don't make it, because they always lose that battle of fear and greed eventually. They don't control position size. They don't worry about the downside, and then that gets most traders. But then the one other aspect that even if you master yourself as far as your emotions and your position size and risk management, even if you master all of that, there's one more step. You have to be able to understand and see when the market's changing and adjust your strategies accordingly. A lot of people just keep doing the same thing over and over. When they start losing, doing something that used to work for them last week or the week before, and they think something's changed on their end, like they're doing something wrong. No, the market changes. The market changes all the time. And that's why it's really important to recognize that early. And when you're in the trenches doing it every day, it's not that hard to recognize it early and make sure that you adjust rather than keep trying the same thing over and over once it stops working. All right, I am done babbling. Have a good night. Talk to you tomorrow.